Hello, it's your Uncle Spurt here, and today we're having a good old squint at the Ayaneo 3, or possibly the Ayaneo 3. I've said it both ways in previous videos, and in both videos I was told in the comments to say it the other way. So for the purposes of this video, it's going to be called the Aya Don't Give a Flying F 3. And the trouser-rousing feature of this latest handheld gaming console is its modular controls, which pop right out in an adorable fashion, can be replaced with others. And my review model boasts a gorgeous OLED display, a top-tier AMD AI chip, 64 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of storage, and it'll cost you just over $1,600 US. Bloody ouch. Anyway, I've been testing it out for a good few days now, so here's my Ayaneo 3 review. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now let us begin with what do you actually get inside of the box, besides of course the Ayaneo 3 console. Well, first off, you're presented with a lovely clear illustration of all the different magic modules, as they're known, which are the different modular controllers you can use with the Ayaneo 3. Then it's the actual console itself. You've also got a quick start guide and a QR code, so you can check out the full instruction manual, which you'll probably need to do if you've never used an Ayaneo device before. And underneath that, you've got even more goodies hidden, including a Type-C to Type-C USB cable, an adapter which is of the 2-pin variety, but fear not, fellow Brits, Europeans, etc., because you do get a bunch of adapters bunged in there too, as well as a pair of USB-A to USB-C adapters, a pair of bonus thumbsticks, and you've also got yourself a handy claw tool which can be used to prise the buttons off of those modular controllers and reorientate them or swap them about. And that right there is everything you find slapped in the box with the Ayaneo 3, so quite a decent little haul. And unfortunately, if you want those magic module bonus controllers, you will have to spunk up separately for those. They don't come bundled with the Ayaneo 3, which is a bit of a shame, as it's a major selling point of this handheld console, and also, let's face it, it's not cheap to begin with. Now, you got quite similar design here to the Ayaneo 2 and 2S, besides of course the modular controller shenanigans. It's once again a similar size, similar chunkiness to other consoles like the Steam Deck. So it'll certainly take up a fair old chunk of space in your hand luggage if you are buggering off abroad. You can grab the Ayaneo 3 in a choice of 3 colours appropriately. This white model, black, or one called Retro Power, which isn't a very helpful descriptive title. It's kind of a coppery, browny, goldy sort of thing. As usual, that front end is pretty much entirely glass, bar the control bits obviously. It's apparently impact resistant and scratch resistant, certainly no scuffs so far, but I've been fairly gentle with this thing this past week. A nice clean finish, no screws or nasty bits like that. And the glossy finish does a reasonably good job of hiding fingerprints and grubby marks, but occasionally you will have to give it a bit of a buffing up. And it weighs 690 grams, so it certainly isn't light, but the ergonomic design makes it comfortable to clutch for hours at a time. No worries there. As for ports, well, you got a generous selection of them bunged on the Ayaneo 3 as always. So for instance, a pair of USB 4 ports, one up top and one down below as well. Pretty convenient for charging. You've also got yourself a bit of Oculink action up top for slapping in a proper discrete GPU. That's right there next to the volume rocker and the power button, which has a built-in fingerprint sensor. And this is slightly awkward to use because of the positioning of the power button. Although quite often when I tried to sign in using this, it just popped up with a message saying your fingerprint is not recognized, and I ended up having to stick my bloody pin in anyway. And you've also got yourself a micro SD memory card slot cunningly hidden under this wee flappy bit down below. And then you may have spied there's a bonus button down below as well. Well, a quick push of this will cycle you between the different control modes. So for instance, keyboard and mouse mode and Xbox controller mode. But if you happen to press and hold this button in, this will actually pop out the modular controllers. Oh, like so. So yes, unsurprisingly, this is best performed when the Ayaneo 3 is lying completely flat on its back. And you can actually also pop the magic modules out by diving into the Ayaspace menu, going to the magic module section and then tapping one-click pop-up. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Lie it flat. And of course, the fact that the Magic modules are ejected using motors is a point of consternation because it's just one more bit that could possibly fail. Just make me slightly nervous. And if you do treat yourself to the Magic module box, you get quite a few extra bonus controllers bundled in there. So what you get chucked in here is a pair of plastic carry cases, one white and one of them black. So it matches two of the available colour options of the Ayaneo 3, no love for retro power. And bunged inside one of these, you'll find all of the Magic modules. So you've got yourself a pair of Magic modules that are identical to the originals, just in case you need to replace them or whatever. You've also got yourself a touchpad pair with a touch-sensitive area, perfect for your first-person shooter shenanigans. And last up, you've got yourself a proper 6-button module, which is perfect for the old fighting games. And you've also got yourself some bonus thumb caps chucked in there if you fancy a different style. So no matter what kind of game you're playing, you've basically got a setup that should work quite nicely. And the great thing about these Magic modules is they can be chucked in upside down as well. All of them, that is, apart from the 6-button fighting module that has to go in the right way up. And then all you need to do is use the old claw tool I showed you during the unboxing bit to rearrange the buttons so they're all upside down. Now, I haven't personally tested out the 6-button fighting module because I don't really like fighting games. I'm very much just mash the buttons and hope for the best. But the touchpad modules work well for those first-person shooters. Certainly takes some getting used to. When I first slapped those modules in, I found the sensitivity was through the roof. I had to do some very subtle tweaking in the game settings before they were to my liking, but otherwise you've got the whole thumbsticks as usual, which do a blinding job for every other kind of game. You've got the usual obligatory RGB shenanigans, naturally. Those buttons are pleasingly responsive, not at all sticky or anything. I've had no issues from those. And then up top on the Ayaneo 3, you've got your shoulder buttons, of course, and your Hall sensing triggers. With customizable depth, you can either have these set to 3 mils or 7.5. I left them at 7.5 because I just find 3 mils far too shallow. And you've even got a pair of customizable macro buttons around back which just sit neatly underneath your fingers. And then of course down here in the bottom left, as usual, you've got your start and select buttons to bring up all the various in-game menus. You can quickly and easily pop up the IR space menu at any point with a tap here. And you've got even more shortcut buttons scattered around this thing. You've got one up here in the top left, for instance, which brings up the on-screen virtual keyboard. And this bad boy here, which can be used to cycle between recent apps. And if you long press it, it sometimes brings up the Steam big picture mode, which is pretty good if you want that Steam Deck style experience. Otherwise, of course, it's that usual lovable Windows UI, which works so well on gaming handhelds. You do also have the IR space, which you can use to fully customize this device. Got loads of controller options in here, so you can mess around with all of the different buttons, change them around, tweak the triggers, the vibrations, strength, everything you can think of, basically. And of course, you can obviously play around with the RGB shenanigans as well. You can also mess around with the performance settings, the cooling settings, but most of these options are available via the iSpace shortcut button as well, which you can pop out at any time, even while you're gaming, so you can mess around with these things, tweak the settings, etc., without having to come out of your game, go back into the full-on iSpace UI. My main problem with iSpace is it does have a tendency to crash and then just refuse to load up again, so you often have to restart the Ayaneo 3 in order to get it working again. It's a bit balky to say the least, and also some of the settings are really buried away through countless menus. You have to really go hunting to find them. So certainly not one of the friendliest UIs, although thankfully the little pop-out window bit is fairly easy to navigate through and has quite a lot of the main features that you would need in-game. And also adding your games and various services like Game Pass to the iSpace is an absolute ball ache, so I don't even bother. I just use the Game Pass app. And thankfully this works perfectly well here on the Ayaneo 3, absolutely zero jip with that. For the storage, you've got a choice of anywhere between half a terabyte and 4 full terabytes of PCIe 4.0 SSD storage here on the Ayaneo 3. I've got the 2 terabyte model, which is already filling up pretty bloody fast. They do have the card support down below as well. That supports transfer speeds up to 300 megabits per second. And then one of the absolute highlights here on the Ayaneo 3 is that 7-inch touchscreen, which comes in LCD or OLED flavors. I got the OLED model. Both of them have a 1080p Full HD resolution, so not quite as crisp as the 1200p Ayaneo 2S, but still plenty sharp for a handheld. That refresh rate has been boosted from the previous model, so the LCD version tops off at 120Hz, this OLED version tops off at 144Hz. And you've also got proper HDR visual support here on the OLED, and it is a bit brighter than that LCD. It hits roughly 800 nits when you max out the brightness, so it is a proper retina popper. You can certainly play games outdoors as long as you haven't got sun reflecting right off that glossy screen. It's particularly oh, Jesus Christ. Dude, are you going to help me or what? Come on, man. Now, what I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted is particularly good for those more murky scenes in games like Avowed, where on some other gaming handhelds you'd be kind of squinting to see what on earth is going on. And a bit of an upgrade also for the stereo speaker arrangement here on the Ayaneo 3. No longer slapped away, hidden on the bottom edge, they're now front facing. And they're certainly pretty bloody loud when you max out that volume as well.
Between tensions in the city and threats outside, the militia's in over their heads.
Unfortunately, like the previous generation, the audio is still rather tinny. The speakers could certainly use a bit more bass, a bit more oomph. But one thing that certainly doesn't need a bit more oomph is the performance. My review model of the Ayaneo 3 came with a 12-core AMD Ryzen AI 9 HX370 stuffed inside. A catchy bloody name as always. You got that Radeon 890M GPU. But you can, if you want to, also downgrade to the Ryzen 7 8840U, which uses the 780M GPU. And you've also got up to 64 gigs of RAM stuffed inside. This is the 64 gig model that I've been testing. And of course you can slap in an external GPU and really boost the performance, the overall power. But I've been testing the Ayaneo 3 as a gaming handheld, just using the core performance provided by the internals. And naturally, when I was playing the AAA titles, I did stick it on the maxed out performance setting. A good bit of extreme, which maxes out at 30 watts TDP when you're running on battery power. Otherwise, you can boost it to 35 watts if you are plugged in. I found these games ran perfectly well, both on battery power and when hooked up to the mains. You do also have a smart TDP option in there if you like. And then if you are playing less intensive fare, you can bump it down to the more balanced setting. And then there's save and power mode as well, which is better reserved for your more basic Windows tasks rather than gaming. And as usual, you can naturally set your own performance modes with your own defaults if you prefer. And as I'm full on proper addicted to Avowed at the moment, I played a good bit of that on Game Pass. Full HD resolution, of course, with ray tracing turned on. Most of the quality settings defaulted to low, so I left it at that to begin with. I did find that the frame rate typically stayed around the sort of 30 frames per second mark, occasionally jumping up to more like 40 frames per second. But it was pretty consistent, didn't really drop below 30 frames per second. There was no juddery slowdown at all, even when things got pretty hectic and I had about 20 random beasties and gribblies trying to murder the shit out of me all at the same time. The game has crashed on me, but only the one time, thankfully, here on the Ayaneo 3. I did also try knocking the ray tracing off and bumping up the graphics settings to more the sort of medium levels. And with this setup, I found that Avowed typically ran at around 40 frames per second, again with a consistent frame rate. So perfectly playable, really enjoyable experience. I also spent many hours playing through another recent AAA favourite, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And this defaulted to the low graphics settings, ray tracing off and dynamic resolution scaling on. And I found certainly with these settings, I typically again got sort of 30 to 40 frames per second consistently, again with no obvious slowdown throughout the hours and hours of gameplay. And you can boost up to the more medium settings and still get a reliable frame rate. And there was the one crash for Indy as well, but again, that was it, thankfully, over hours of gameplay. For the cooling setup here on the Ayaneo 3, you've once again got a high-speed internal fan alongside the copper tubing and the usual graphene layer shenanigans. And as usual, that internal fan, when it maxes out, it's absolutely going full pelt. Basically sounds like a friggin' jumbo jet is about to take off in your living room. At the moment, it's running on max level, which, believe me, isn't max at all. I don't know why it's called that. Let me just boost it up to 100%. Tell you what, this thing is actually pretty great in winter time because, oh my god, the hot air that it blasts out of this top vent. Absolutely bloody lovely. But the good news is, as long as that fan is going full pelt, you can play these AAA games for again, hours at a time. No worries at all. As I say, I did experience a couple of crashes, but I don't think that was anything to do with overheating. Certainly the games didn't seem to throttle or anything like that. But of course, when it comes to the battery life, that is where the Ayaneo 3 falls flat on its arse, just like a lot of gaming handheld consoles. Certainly if you've got it in that extreme mode, playing a AAA title, it won't even see out a full hour on a 100% battery charge. You're more likely to get around sort of 45 to 50 minutes before it just collapses and dies. So yeah, in terms of actually being able to play out and about when you're on the go, you're gonna have to restrict yourself to less intensive titles unless you've got a whopping great bloody battery pack the size of a briefcase. So for a lot of my gaming, I simply just left it plugged in. Unfortunately, you do have a battery bypass mode as well if you want to try and keep the Ayaneo 3 as cool as possible, but I didn't bother using this. I found it still didn't overheat. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is the Ayaneo 3 gaming handheld. Now I like it, you know, the ISpace shenanigans can be quite bulky at times, no doubt. The battery life is as cack as any other handheld out there, but the performance is excellent. The modular control stuff is quite unique and obviously will be particularly of interest to any FPS fans and any fighting game fans as well. That display is an absolute stunner as well. Really enjoyed gaming on this thing in general. But of course, the other major bugbear with this thing is the price. It is so expensive. Even compared with the likes of the MSI Claw, which I recently reviewed, which was, you know, the best part of $1,000. Still boasted excellent performance and lots of great slick features and everything. So definitely go give that a check if you want something that's a little bit more affordable than this bad boy. Otherwise, it'd be fantastic to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone. Love you all.